Good afternoon. Here's the report of Group 1 and our topic is about supply chain and management. So let's start. In Module 1, we will discuss the introduction to supply chain and processes. So there's a question here. Have you ever wondered how products reach your doorsteps? Or do you know what your favorite foods go through before they reach you? If you don't know the answer yet, just listen to our discussion for you to understand how supply chain management works. So it says here that supply chain management is an essential element of a firm's operation. It aids in the movement of products and services, meaning that supply chain management has an important role on a company's operation. So to fully understand what is the meaning of supply chain management, here is another definition. Supply chain management is the managing movement of products and services that starts from the source of the products and finishes at the product's consumption. To make it simple, it is the handling of the entire production flow of a good or service. So if you are still confused on the meaning of supply chain management, always remember these three words: flow, goods, and services. Because supply chain management is the management of the flow of the goods and services. So next, why do we study supply chain management? Actually, there's a lot of reason why do we study supply chain management. But I'll just give you two reasons. Number one is to understand how businesses actually operates. Number two is to know the flow of goods, services, and information. Because in supply chain management, it will enable us to be aware on the overall production flow. For example, in the future, we will work as a manager of a certain firm or as a manager of our own company. So as a manager, we must know the flow of the production, where we will get our supplies or raw materials, how we will process it or make it as our own products, how we will distribute it to the retailers or the wholesalers. So it is important to learn and to know the supply chain management. Next is the primary objective of supply chain management. The objective is to oversee and align manufacture, distribution, and shipment of products and services. So here, the goal of supply chain management is to manage, plan, or strategize the overall process from the supplier up to the shops where consumers can buy it.
So, good afternoon to everyone. So, in this slide, we will tackle about the participants in supply chain. So, the first participant to discuss is the supplier who provides or supplies raw materials, parts, or components into another entity. So, example of this is the farming businesses. So, to have or to build a strong relationship between suppliers and businesses, we have a relationship, a supplier relationship management, on which a process of planning and managing all relationship with vendors that supply any products or services to a business. So, managing the relationship can improve the efficiency for both suppliers and businesses. Also, business can ensure the efficient supply of products or services for the company. So, the second one is the manufacturers who produce finished goods using machines, raw materials, and labor. So, in other words, they process the raw materials, turning it into the finished good. So, example of this is the grape wine production. So the third one, or the third participant in supply chain, is the distributor, who distributes or supply goods and services to various business and customer. So example of this is building supplies and industrial clothing. So in this, distributor is apply warehousing in which they store the finished goods or the products. So another one is the wholesaler, who purchase finished goods from manufacturers and sell those goods to retailers in large bulk quantities. So these two is the important link in the or the most important link in the supply chain management, where they ensure that timely availability of merchandise or products to the end users. So the fourth is the retailers, who sell goods in small quantities to the end user at a higher price. So the example of this is the department store. So the last participant in supply chain is the consumers or customers, who buy the goods from the retailer for personal use. So also, the consumers is the one who give feedback about the products and services. So in this slide is the illustration of flow of goods, services, and information from the point of production to the point of consumption. It shows the movement of product from the supplier to the manufacturer, which forward it to the distributor or the wholesaler for shipment, then ships it to the retailer, which further distribute the product to the different shops from where the customer can easily access the product. So in essence, the supply chain management merges the supply and demand management, where they can predict or forecast the future demand patterns and respond swiftly to changing needs of customer. So it also applies various strategies and approaches to view the entire chain and work efficiently. So it includes the operation management, on which they control the process of the production. So in this process, so it can minimize the unnecessary expenses through correct or proper inventory. So it also can minimize the movement and the unnecessary handling.
Now, let's move on to key benefits of supply chain management. When we talk about key benefits, this is something that will improve the management of a company. So, let us proceed to number 1, which is develops better customer relationship and service. Example, communicate is the better way to build a good relationship with customer. This is one of the necessary recipes when it comes to business. This is very vital to building your business. And if they are happy with your service, not only will they come back for more, but they have the capacity to become advocates for your brand, bringing customer through your door without having to do any of the hard work. Number 2 is to create better delivery mechanism for product services in demand with minimal delay. Example is, if the place is far from you, take at least 1 to 5 days process of delivery to avoid minimal delay. Delivery delays can greatly affect your business negatively. And if they experience delivery delays on more than 1 or 2 occasions, they are likely to lose trust in your business. This is directly connected to customer retention. If the company will not think a solution for this, company will no longer trust your a customer will no longer trust your company. Number 3 is improves productivity and business function. So example for this is when making cars, workers use tools and an assembly line to produce a finished product. The workers are the labor and the machines are the capital. That's it. That is the example for number 3. In order to increase the productivity, each worker must be able to produce more output. This is referred to as labor productivity growth. The more they separate work of one worker to another, the more they can produce product. It also helps companies to increase profitability, provide a better service to clients and more customers, and they can see that your business operates successfully. Number 4. Plus is number 4. Minimize warehousing and indirect costs. So the example is consider warehousing services. This is the most important component of the supply chain. Management need to maximize and optimize all the available space rather than expand the footprint of your warehouse. They need to consider the better use of vertical space also to reduce all the expenses of the company.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is my topic. Minimize direct and indirect costs. Direct costs are expenses that a company can easily connect to a specified cost object, which may be a product department or project. Indirect costs extend beyond the expenses you incurred creating a product. Assist in achieving shipments of the right product to the right places all the right time. In essence, the marketing function is the study of market forces and factors and the developments of a company position, optimize its benefits through them. Is the question about number 7. And change inventory management supports the successful execution of just-in-time stocking model. Here is the answer. Inventory management, where did the concept came from and how can it benefits business?
Number 8 is assist companies in adapting to the challenges of globalization, economic disorder, expanding customer expectations, and other related differences. This means that it helps the firms in adapting to the differences when companies decide to go global, so that they will be ready and willing to change internal processes. For example, globalization makes the workforce more diverse. This diversity is an overall positive change, but it creates some challenges, such as language barriers and differences in cultural expectations. Lastly, to the topic of supply chain management is that assist companies in minimizing wastage, driving out costs, and achieving efficiency throughout the supply chain process. This means that it enables the firms in reducing costs to improve product flow. Through accurate demand and sales forecasting, it also improves inventory management and avoiding underproduction. In order to reduce overall costs, warehousing and storage have to fully optimize as part of the larger supply chain strategy. To reduce costs, companies that can focus on its operations. For example, optimize space, reduce damage, minimize packaging, and much more. A solution to optimize space is by having multi-client facilities. Allows for costs to be shared across multiple companies and you only pay for the area that you use. This also means you won't need to hire your own employees. Moving on to the next lesson, which is the supply chain management goals. Each firm strives to achieve a balance between supply and demand. This is achieved through allocating resources which are efficient. A supply chain includes every item, person, and activity needed for all purposes, for sourcing raw materials to reaching finished goods to customers. For example, when customer place an order for an item, it must be delivered as per their desire. With many companies competing for the same set of customers, it is critical to rising to their expectations. This is where SCM plays a significant role. To understand what a supply chain is, we must look at each component in detail. First is supply chain management associates tasks in collaboration with various degrees to take full advantage of resource efficiency. Program standardized processes, eliminates duplicate efforts, and minimize inventories. It aims to connect the different degrees of collaboration to maximize resource efficiency, implements consistent processes, eliminate duplication of efforts, and reduce inventories. For example, an agricultural cooperative that produces fruit juices and foods was able to cut freight costs after opening a regional distribution center. The facility reduced distances, customer locations, and was well positioned and leveraged empty railroad traveling. The company is using demand planning software with retailer point of sale data to understand demand and develop more accurate forecasts.
Number 2, minimize supply chain expenditures, particularly when there are economic doubts in companies about their hopes to conserve capital. In this situation, firms help to reduce costs by focusing on their operations, such as optimizing space, reducing damage, and minimizing packaging. Number 3, cost-efficient and cheap products are important, but supply chain managers need to concentrate on value creation for the customers. The goal of increasing customer value starts it with a market-driven customer service strategy based on clearly defined customer needs. These standards should inform supply chain strategy design and capabilities. As a result, there will be better service, less variability, and fewer exceptions to deal with. Number 4, exceed customers' expectations on a regular basis is the best way for customer satisfaction. This situation, if the companies provide exceptional service to the customers all the time, customers are more likely to come back because they make their life easier.
Number 5. Increase expectation of clients for wider product variety, customized goods, off-season availability of inventory, and rapid fulfillment at a cost comparable to in-store offerings. In this fifth supply chain management most significant goal, we as a future entrepreneur, we should know what our clients or customer want or needs the most to meet their expectation. So therefore, I have 3 primary customer needs and wants to meet their expectation, which is what is our goal. First is customers needs your product or service to function the way they need in order to solve their problem or desire. So for example, a customer is searching for a new cell phone which will satisfy his or her needs and wants. So that customer will need an assistant to inform his or her about a cell phone information, availability, function, and etc. until he or she finds what cell phone will suit to her perception. Next is, customers have a unique budgets with which they can first purchase a product or service. So in this case, customers are searching for a product or service that he or she will afford. So we should meet their expectation by convincing them that A product is worth to its price by its variety, availability, function, and etc. And if it is service, entrepreneurs should meet their want by offering good and fantastic service that will be worth it to its price. Third and last is your product or service needs to be convenient solution to the function your customer are trying to get. So lastly, we entrepreneur should know what our customer wants and needs. For us to know what product or services will suit to his or her perception to give a convenient solution to their problem and to meet their expectation. Next, we have number 6 to address customer expectation. Traders need to influence inventory as a common resource and employ the distributed order management technology to finalize orders from the optimal node in the supply chain. So, we'll go to the next slide to show you a figure which will explain this case. So, here's the figure 2, the order management process, which will show the first up to the last and final delivery process. First is the customer, who will order or searching for a product or service. Next is order placement, which is the arrangement of a set of items in accordance with a recursive algorithm. Third is the checkout. This is a point which goods are paid. Next is processing. This is taking a product from concept to market availability. Next is warehousing. This is the process of storing goods in a warehouse. Next is production and fulfillment. The process of receiving, packaging, and shipping orders for goods. And lastly, we have shipping. This process is the delivery of the product or service to the customer. This order management process capabilities practice entrepreneurs to get orders from the customers more cheaper and faster. Let's move on to the lesson 3. Supply chain management process plan. It says here that planning should mainly focus on strategy design that yields the maximum profit, and top level of this model has 5 different processes, which one are also known as components of supply chain management. So we have here 5 different processes. First is the plan, which is the detailed proposal for doing or achieving something for our product or service offers. Next is source. This is the identifying vendors who will procure goods and services to meet planned or actual demand in the most economic and efficient way. Next, we have make. This is all the activities performed related to the transformation of raw materials into the final products. Next is deliver. Deliver is where the finished goods and service as demanded by customers have to meet expectation through the company's delivery channels and logistic services. Fifth and the final process is the return, which is the post-delivery customer support process that is associated with all kinds of return products.
So this is all for today. Thank you for all your cooperation. Hope you guys enjoyed and learned something from our topic.